Howdy travelers, welcome back. This is Trav, and in today's video we're going to be going over a construction of a flying machine sugarcane farm. Yes, you heard right, this is going to use flying machines. This is not zero tick because we are adults. And not only is it a flying machine farm, but it's got a lot of new features that are going to make this a pretty optimum farm with very little waste. And it's very lag efficient. We started designing this on stream the other day, and I've made a few tweaks since then, and we're going to discuss all of that here. I'm going to try to keep this video succinct, but there's a lot to cover. So I want to start off talking about some of the features of the farm and what sets this one apart. I'm going to give you kind of an overview of the design, and then we'll get into the construction. Okay, and then talk about how you can adjust the construction and for your own world and for the demands you have. Now, this is a flying machine farm, as we said, but not only that, but this one's using two flying machines. The flying machines are built off the Trav 4x4 module, and we've increased their size and their footprint a little bit here. They're set off, they're started according to crop growth. Over here we have a couple observers to provide some redundancy. That way when the crop grows, then the flying machines are sent off. Furthermore, if we're using multiple flying machines, I'm going to show you how you can ensure that they're not all flying at the same time. Because if you guys are like me and my Sidecraft server, you want to reduce lag whenever possible. So instead of having two flying machines running, we're going to not send the second one until the first one returns. Which also means this is pretty much infinitely expandable at not much increase in lag as a consequence. Furthermore, there's something important we need to mention because it's not mentioned in flying machine farm tutorials by other YouTubers, and that's you need to ensure you have an on-off switch for this thing, okay? Because if you don't, and you unload these chunks when this flying machine's moving, it's going to break. Not only that, but the minecart can despawn if it's moving and the chunks are unloaded on Bedrock. So we're going to be incorporating a power switch so that we can ensure that this thing, when we're ready to leave or go through a portal or whatnot, we can turn this farm off and it'll stay off and it's going to be safe so that when we return, we didn't break anything. As far as unloading your parts, I'm not going to get too much into detail on this because it really is determined by your needs and where you want to send the items, but here's a little double speed unloader if you want to take a look at it. Here and grab a screenshot or two. That's just a double speed minecart unloader. That's just one example. Now I'm using one minecart here. I prefer using, the least amount of minecarts necessary because it's less entities moving around. But the size of this farm at 2 wide is about the maximum we could take it without needing a second minecart because this does fill up before it's able to retrieve all the items. However, it can unload fast enough in return that nothing's going to despawn. Alright, and the last thing I want you to notice is we're using honey blocks for the flying machine. These are obviously new blocks, as you know, but this new concept of using them in crop flying machines it's fantastic, right? Because it's not pushing the items near as far, right? The slime blocks can push items up to 6 blocks away, which means you have a lot of loss on the ends, and you have to build these complicated walls to catch all the loss. Okay, so starting here, we're going to be using honey blocks for our crop flying machines. So that way we can improve the farm's efficiency. So you see this here? It's barely bumping them, which is fantastic. And a much simpler wall at the end. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get every now and then a random one that drops, but it's nothing like it used to be. Okay, so that's the overview of the farm. Let's turn this one off. There we go. So now it can't go again. And we'll get into the construction of it. Okay, so with the construction, it's completely up to you how big you want to make this thing, and if you want to use one flying machine, 2, 4, whatever, and you can go whatever length you want. Okay, one flying machine module here is 13 blocks wide. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a demo that's 13 blocks wide, and we'll go about 20 blocks long, but the length could be whatever you want. And then what I'll do at the end is I'll just show you how you add a second one, how you tie them together. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get your rails in for your collection system. All right, so starting on one corner, you're going to have a solid block up to a powered rail and then a normal rail. And it's just you need to make sure that that's unpowered because that's going to be part of our on-off switch. And then you just run rails all the way across the floor plan here. And they don't all need to be powered like this. You know, you could run a strip of blocks down the middle, just power a few, that's fine. But I think you get the point here, and then this side would go to your unload zone. So this here is from powered rail to powered rail is 13 blocks, and then powered rail one and powered rail the other is 20 blocks. And that way we got a little overhang. So the next thing we do once we have our rails in place is we're going to start setting up our crop floor. So we're going to come on this corner, and we're going to go above this one, and we're going to put a piece of dirt. Okay, and then these rows are going to look like this all the way across to the other side. And then we need to organize the columns because, as you know, sugarcane needs to always touch water. So this is going to be 2 wide. And then after that, we're going to use waterlogged stairs for our to hold the water back. That way we can get our minecarts underneath. And then we're going to do 2 more. And then here we're going to use a waterlogged stairs. And then we're going to repeat this. Now I'm going to keep going on this, but also the other thing you need to do is, you may have noticed on this side, this isn't getting water. So we're actually going to add another layer here of waterlogged stairs right here. And these are going to be covered up. Okay? So they'll need a solid block on this side. There we go. So we're just going to continue this. So 2 dirt, 1 stair. 2 dirt, 1 stair. 2 dirt, 1 stair. And then we just repeat till we hit the other end. 1 stair, just like that. Now, just adjust the length, because ideally you're going to want a stair on the end, and then you're going to hold that water back with building blocks, just like that. Okay, because then that will be covered up. So the only ones we're going to see are these 4, 6 in the center. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fill this in. Once you have your floor in, let's get some walls up. And then how you design these is entirely up to you. But make sure you get a wall here to hold back the water. And then we'll bring these walls up a couple blocks to keep any sugarcane from being thrown out. Something like this will look just fine. Okay, so with that in, it's time to add our water. Now, you have to be careful with this, because if you update these sources after they go in, they're all going to flood through, and it's just going to be an absolute mess, and you're going to have to start all over again. And you do not want to do that. I did that a ton on stream the other day. So carefully throw your water in each of these. Alright guys, so with the floor in place and the wall started, it's time to get our flying machine in. So to get this thing positioned, we're going to come from this far back wall, we're going to come up to and over to, and that's going to be the last block of the flying machine. The important thing here is it's not honey or it's not slime. And then we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 honey blocks. And then at the end of this, we're going to put, starting from the 4th from the end, there's going to be a sticky piston. Oh, let's get normal piston. A normal piston, turn and face this way, a normal piston, and a sticky piston. And we can block this back right here, second from the end. Alright, so then we take our honey blocks, we're going to skip the first sticky piston and put 1 here and do 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we'll put a normal block at the end of that. and we could block this thing off. Now for the observers, the first one we're going to put above that honey block to charge that normal piston. We're going to go up, come underneath here, and put it like that. The next one is going to charge this sticky piston. So we're going to build it here. Just like that. Alright, so then what we need to do is the second honey block from this end, we need to put a redstone block right there. And then what we need to do is 2 from this observer, 1, 2, we need to put a redstone block right there. And that flying machine is done. Okay, so what we have to do next is we need to build our station. So let's start with the sending station. So come into the back here, take a look at that redstone block, the honey block underneath. We're going to place a normal piston here. And then on this side, we're going to go away from that observer back to, and then we're going to put a sticky piston there. This sticky piston is going to have an observer just like that. Okay, so now all we need to do is we need to connect these together. So we're going to come out from this one with the normal block, and then we're going to make a turn like this, out from underneath this one with a normal block, and then we can come down one more, and then we can add one more like this. Remember, this piston needs to be on a 4-tick delay, and then the rest of this can all connect with dust. Okay, so now we need to build a return station. From that, we're going to line ourselves up with this honey block between that observer and that redstone block, and we're going to fly to the other side. We're going to go to our last piece of dirt. We're going to come up 2, and then we're going to come over 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to put obsidian or an immovable block on the end of that. And that's where that's going to be. So to come up with the return station, it's easiest just to send the machine over here and then build it while the machine's over here. So leaving that block in place, let's go to this side, and we'll add the block here, lever here, and let's send the flying machine over. So it goes to the other side. And once it's on this side, we're going to put a normal piston right here to push those over. And then here is going to be a sticky piston. And then this is going to be the observer. Just like that. And that's our return station. Okay, so to automate this, the next thing we need to do is we need to have observers detecting crop growth. And then we're going to send that signal to our flying machine. So let's come over here, and it's always best to have some redundancy. So we're going to observe several plants. Let's do these 2. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to connect the signal from these observers, which are going to detect plant growth, and we need to send that signal to the flying machine so that it can go. But we're going to work our way backwards. We know we need to send the signal to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down off of this. Down 1 step and down 2 steps. Okay. And then what we need to do is we need a pulse extender because we want these pistons to stay extended for, you know, a few game ticks so that way the flying machine just can safely depart. So we're going to have 2 comparators pointing into that block. 2 pointing away from those, dust here, and then dust on the end of this. And then we're going to go ahead and take a repeater here, add a little bit of delay to it, block here, and a repeater into this on full delay. And the reason we have that block there is so that we can have an on-off switch to turn the flying machine on and off, because then no matter what the observers do, we're not going to get a signal to the flying machines, and they're not going to leave, and we don't want them to leave. That's the point of that. Yeah, we'll leave that on there for now. So now all we need to do is we need to get a signal down to here. So let's bring the dust back so it's lined up with these blocks. And we need to bring that down. So how about we use observers and keep going with our rails. We'll come another block here. And then another observer there. So then when we have rails on top of these, that pulse gets carried forward. And the same, we had rails here. Pulse gets carried, just like that. Nice and simple. Okay, so now it's time to get our power switch installed. And we're going to imagine this is going to be the front of the farm. So what we need to do is we could put a lamp here, and this is going to be a lever, turning the farm on and the farm off. And then you could either use dust if you want, or we could use a sticky piston and slime blocks, but that means we can't have any blocks under, above, or to the left or to the right of where the slime blocks are going to be. Well, that's going to be easy here, because all we need to do is do this. Oh, shoot, what did I just break? Oh, I just placed that. Okay, so then what we could do is we could run slime blocks out here. Let's turn this thing on. Piece of dust on the top of that. And then right here at the end, a redstone block to keep that energized. Okay, so now what we need to do, we have our power switch turning on and off the flying machine, but we need to turn it on and off the minecart by powering that block there, which will turn on and off that powered rail. So what we could do is if we just reach around the back here, put a piece of dust, and then we can bring that all the way over to this block here, and it's going to need a repeater right here to power that block. Okay, so there's our on and off switch. So to test it out, we could flip this switch. Flying machines won't move, and the minecart will stop right down here. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to get some leaves on the ends to help block parts that are being thrown. And since we're using honey blocks, there's not many, but we need to do everything we can. So right here, underneath that normal piston on top of these building blocks, put a line of leaves here, and then go above that piston and to the right, the inside, and put a line of leaves right here. And these are going to be just above the flying machine, so they knock off any plants that are sitting on top of the honey block. Okay, and now on the flying machine to end, let's go to this last block over here, these building blocks, and let's put a strip of leaves right on that. So we got plants in the ground, so let's go ahead and increase our random tick speed and make sure this thing's working. Oh, we just saw a signal, and there goes our flying machine. You can see all the product was kept right here where the minecart can pick it up. The only thing lost was a piece here and a piece there. So you could add more leaves here if you want to do, but unnecessary. And just like that, guys, this farm is done. Now, each cycle is going to take roughly 35-40 minutes because it needs the plant to grow 2 stages. And every cycle for a farm this exact size, it's going to produce about 364 plants. And so that's going to give you just over 600 an hour for this size floor. So if you double the length or add a second one to the side, then you're going to be over 1200 right there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a second farm to this, and then I'm going to explain how to wire the two together. Okay guys, so now let's talk about expanding it laterally with multiple flying machines. So this part of the flying machine you could pretty much just duplicate with the little pulse extender down here to make sure these pistons stay out for a little while. So that you could pretty much duplicate. And the same with the return stations. All that's the same. And you can eliminate the interior wall. Okay? And then so now all we need to do is we're going to still rely on just one pulse here. But we need to now bring that pulse to the second flying machine. And you got a couple different ways you could do that. So what you could do is have the pulse come this way and have it go straight to the other flying machine, but then they're going to go at about the same time, and we don't really want them to do that. We want them to go at different times to reduce the lag and only have one machine flying at once. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a pretty precise input delay over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that over a little ways, and we're going to have, but what we want to do is we want to create a delay mechanism, so that way we can accurately delay the pulse from this flying machine to the other one. Okay guys, so we need to connect both flying machines together, but we want a delay circuit in between so that they both leave at 2 different times, so they're not flying at the same time, to reduce the lag. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue to use this pulse here by putting a block there with a repeater that's going to face into a block. There's going to be dust underneath that block, torch on the side, 2 blocks here with a comparator facing into that block from this side, piece of dust here, and we're going to come up. We're going to have 2 hoppers facing into each other here, and then underneath on those 2 blocks we're going to have 2 torches, a block here, 2 more. We're going to do a comparator reading that, an observer observing that comparator, and then we're going to give this some delay to prevent feedback, and then that's going to drop down to that. Oh, let's do it. That's going to drop down to. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to put a certain amount of items in here. So let's start with a stack and a half and see how that gets. So there he goes. This should be sending parts over. And then what we want is, it's okay if it pauses for a few seconds when he's all the way back. We just want to try to get them so they're not flying at the same time. He returns, so there would look like we needed about 64, maybe 10. So we might have a few extras. So let's take about half of those. There we go. So we'll go with that. Alright, so the other thing we need to do is we need to fix our on-off switch here. So we could start with the same deal down here. And then let's get this to work. Now we can only push 12 blocks. So that's 11 slime blocks and 1 redstone. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1 redstone block. And then this is going to start another chain. So there. And then this goes to, oh, this turned on, so it's got to go to here. And then now the on-off switch is working. And that's really all you have to do. And lastly, once you get to about this size, where you have, oh, I would say probably more than 150 plants, then I would start adding an extra minecart. You know, maybe do 1 minecart per about 150 plants. And that's going to make sure that they're able to pick up everything fine, and you're not going to have any issues there. Well, guys, that's just about wrapping this thing up. At the beginning of the video, we talked about some of the features that sets this farm apart, and then we got into how to construct one, and then also how to expand it by adding a second flying machine. So there's quite a bit involved, but the farm works wonderfully. It's a very fun farm. It looks cool when it's working, and it's very satisfying to build. So I hope you guys build something like this in your world, and if we're able to take something away from this video. If you did, don't forget to support the video if you think I deserved it. Other than that, guys, have a great New Year's. I really hope your 2019 went well, and I hope your 2020 is even better. So with that, guys, that's all for now. This is Trav. Bye for now.